People who let their mom count to 0, what happened after? Wooden spoon impact. I'll never know. She got to 7 and, being the resident smartass, I said, "Oh cool. Showing off again. Mom. That went real well for me." She smiled and embraced me. "You've passed the test," she said. "You are a man now." The next day I woke up and I was a plumber with 20 years experience. Not my mother, because she rarely disciplined me and my siblings. But my grandma. Oh no. When I went to 0, I got her classic little old Asian lady move. A sock filled with pennies thrown at me at speeds I never thought possible. Shit hurted. I let her divide by 0 once. A black hole opened up and all hell / broke loose. / heck. Sorry mom. I never got in trouble. But my sister did. She let my mother count to 0. She just got shouted at. My sister ran upstairs crying. I used to not know what would happen when I counted to 10. My son has let me get there once. And it ended with me literally wrestling him into his pajamas and him going to bed without getting to read any books. He was very upset, and I felt like a terrible person, but he hasn't let me go past 7 since that day. Weaklings. My mother would count after I was already hooked to give me time to stop crying or I'll be hooked again. I stupidly said, "Wow, I didn't know you could count," and she beat the soul out of me. I saw everything that had ever happened in any place ever all at the same time. I saw every great extinction event in reverse and the thunderous slaps had ducking reverb. She beat me like a sexually frustrated teen beats their meat. She hit me so hard I saw new colors. Her grip was like a jaguar's jaws on a gazelle's neck. There was no escape. I got a privilege taken away. After that would come immediate buyer's remorse. I'd do whatever it was she had wanted me to do in the first place. Cry. And beg. And I never, ever got her to reverse her decision. My mom's a tough cookie. And it took me way too long to catch on, LOL. I guess I wasn't exactly the brightest child. I gotta say, the last time my mom ever tried to spank me, I dove right between her legs, knocked her over, and ran like a ducking wild hog. I guess she realized then that she was too old for this, LOL. It wasn't really my mom but more of my dad. He will count from 3 down, and when I started being a print I will sit there and stare blankly at him. When he made it to 0 he started to take off his belt, and after that, well, there is a reason I was the fastest runner in my class. The amount of people in this thread who were abused is truly ducking sad. If your parent ever open hand slapped you in the face or head or struck you with an object unpadded, they committed felony child abuse in almost every state in America. I was beaten as a kid, and there's nothing more pathetic than a parent who can't control their child without beating them. They're half your size. All you've proved is that you're a coward. A thrashing with the thickest, heaviest leather belt she owned. Happened all too often. The bruises fade but memories last forever. I have 2 kids of my own now, and in 13 years of parenting haven't resorted to violence once. Slapped in the face. Dumped out of wheelchair. Dragged outside by my hair and locked in the front yard for 4 hours in Arizona heat. Told to drink from hose if I was thirsty till my stepdad got home and let me back inside, and helped me up. CPS was called after talking to therapist about it. They did nothing, and mom took me out of therapy and filed formal complaints against the therapist. I was 13. WTF? Who counts to 0? Everyone knows when mom counts to 3 life is over. But if she gives you a 2.5 you may have a chance if you move fast. I was an absolute tool when I was about 16. And my mom pulled the counting method on me for the first time in like 10 years. I defied her because I thought I was so cool. She never hit me. But she did start telling me everything I've done to break her heart. And man, I became a better person after that. I hope I'm making her proud. I wish I never hurt her. She is an absolute saint. Most memorable was getting slapped. Pulled by my hair into my room. And then locked in for an unknown period of time. They installed a lock on my door that meant they could lock me in. Which they did. Every night. Then they wondered why I had bedwetting problems. In Austria, moms count to 3. There is a small cemetery next to Vienna. There rest the brave who heard the 3. I had a loaf of bread thrown against the wall when she came home from shopping one time. My mom was patient and indulgent. But that bread hitting the wall was both hilarious and terrifying, as it was her way of letting me know I had ducked up. I'm glad to see child abuse is doing so well these days. I was getting worried there for a SEC. Oh, I have a story about this. At this time my sister and her family lived with me. One night my niece wanted to spend the night in my room. It was getting pretty late and she was bouncing off the walls, so I told her I'm going to count to 3, and she just kept jumping on the bed. 1, 2. Then she asked while still jumping on the bed what happens at 3, and I kid you not, as soon as I said 3 her mom comes and grabs her and she ends up sleeping in with her parents. To this day one of my favorite stories with the most perfect timing. 3, 2, 1. 1 and 1/5. 1 and 1/4. The decimals got smaller and smaller. I never saw 0. My wife got to 0 with my son. What happened? My wife was so frustrated that my son didn't listen that I got punished and didn't have sex for a month. I'm the youngest in my family. But apparently I had a younger brother that let mom get to 0. I'm skeptical though. I can't even find any pictures of him. Broke wooden spoons and yardsticks. The trick is to run in circles through the main floor of the house. She'll catch you on the straightaways and up the stairs. She paused and walked away. She came back and told me she didn't have a plan for when she got to 0. She ended up grounding me and taking away half my stuff, but that pretty much ended the countdowns. Setting: 80s. NYC. Italian-American mother. Weapon of choice: the wooden spoon. A versatile instrument of death. I just screamed, "I'm 7 now, Mom. That doesn't work anymore." And she stopped and I got away with it. Your parents counted down? My mom counted up 1 to 3. I never let her make it to 3 cause I knew she would factory reset me, LOL. The end of time and space was upon my household. My brother cowered in fear as my mother grew from the shadows. She was at her full power now. The countdown was merely a charging phase. In half a second our universe was ended and revived twice until the point where her countdown began all over again. Wanting the horror to end, I apologized and she returned to her normal state. I must never let my guard down like that again. Let this be a lesson to you all. She physically beat me within an inch of my life for daring to push her to that. Apparently as my mother counted down, the rage counted up, so, once she hit 0, she proceeded to hit me. Repeatedly and without hesitation, until my 8-year-old brother started screaming, "Stop hitting Darkle 0N. Hit me instead, mommy." That seemed to snap her out of it. That time, I never let her count to 0. But my brother did. He was arguing with her and she was expecting for his apology. And then she counted 0. When that happened, the broomstick was broken on his back, and it was a metal one. She has broke several ones on his back and legs, both from metal and wood. PD. He is kinda misbehave. And so much more taller and bigger than my mom. We are also Latinos, so if you're one, you are going to understand. Emotional abuse transition to physical abuse. Could be little, like a spank or dragging somewhere by the ear. Could be held by my neck, unable to touch the ground. I also tended to freeze when she counted, so I got to play that lottery a few times. Mom didn't count. She simply found the most subtle way to duck with you. If you were out of reach, it was a comment. If you were within reaching distance, she would grab hold and show you her weapon of choice, whatever was handy. If it was real bad, she'd simply say, "Don't be here when your dad gets home." We learned early that dad needed about an hour of cool down before we could try to explain our side before the inevitable whooping started. We could only mitigate, never avoid. I woke up in my bed partially confused as she entered my room and told me to get ready for school. It wasn't until history class that I realized all I was watching wasn't a coincidence. When Sally tripped, it was clear. I had lived this before. And even as I knew what had happened, I couldn't help but do the same thing over and over again. My day passed as the day before without a single change in it. Only I could be fully conscious and had a choice when I was back at that exact moment. With my mother angrily shouting that I had 5 seconds to get out of Fortnite and do my homework. Each second I remember how people still believe in God and won't listen even to my most irrefutable arguments. The torture of math class, wasting time in nonsense I wouldn't use a cop. All those slaps I had to bear over the years, which you don't care even when hitting childs is illegal. Tomorrow won't bring me any joy. I know there's nothing to long for. But this 360 non-scope I just landed. I could crave for it the rest of my life. I don't remember. After she said one, I woke up in bed. I don't know how long I was out for. Only that I forgot my left and rights and how to tie my shoes. I still wear Velcro 20 years later. Took away all book and video game privileges. Indefinitely. Dad and I will discuss when you get them back. They chose a week or something. But didn't tell me right away. And every time I asked they would add a day. Ruined that read-through of Aragon. Left me straight in the middle of some dialogue. ITT. Liars and cowards who want us to believe they actually let her count to 0. None survive the 0 bomb. My mom counted to 3. But did the 2 1/4. My grandpa said there's one thing he'll know how to do, and that's count to the 3 in his southern twang. God, I miss him. I remember when my little brother waited to 0. Stepmom said fine. Pick a spoon, and he did. He picked a spoon with holes in it because he thought he was being clever, thinking that less spoon meant less pain. My mom wasn't too bad. She wouldn't warn you though, she'd just do it. On the other hand, my dad had don't make me get off this chair, and when he got off that chair all hell broke loose. She threw all the stuff that still lay around in my room out of the window like she said she would. Mine used a fly swatter specifically because it didn't leave welts the next day like a belt would. Fucking hell, it sucks having smart parents who know how to avoid CPS. My father did this when I was 13. He said if I don't stop filming him while he scream at me, he will throw my phone out of the window. Guess who didn't have a phone after that? This is similar. As she got to 1, I said, well done for practicing your counting. She was studying maths in university at the time. My son is 20 and my daughter is 17, and they have only just realized in the last 12 months that nothing happens at 0. My son said, wait. I'm 19 years old. You can't count to 3 with me. Then stood defiantly until the end. I had a good run though, lol. My mom would chase me around the house trying to spank me. Eventually she gave up and just beat me with jumper cables. A righteous whipping. Not abuse. Mind you. But if I let her get to 0, I deserved it for being a little shithead. I was playing on my Xbox at the time. She glared at me and I shrugged. And told her, what are you gonna do? She then proceeds to yank my Xbox and throws it out of the window. You would guess I would learn my lesson, but it happened again. I shrug, she breaks my laptop screen. Still best mother ever, 10 tenths would annoy again.